This is the Jerusalem Post podcast, Travel Edition. Coming up,
a cherry granita, together with sorbet from wild roses, on the top dried rose petals, and on side with it we are serving a homemade cotton candy, which is powdered with cherry powder.
And I would have got away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids.
so sit back and enjoy the trip with David Harris and Mark Gordon. Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday to us.
Is it birthday?
Not really, because that was probably last month.
Yeah. What do you sing to somebody who's 100?
Happy birthday to you and you're 100. In England, you get a telegram. Well, it's not a telegram anymore. You just get a birthday card from the king.
Something through your mail, or do you get it in your email?
I think you get it through the mail. In Israel, they send it when you're 99, because it takes about a year to arrive.
Oh, I knew where that was going.
More than Israel Post, I might add.
In case you hadn't guessed and you haven't read the paraphernalia that encourages you to press play on this particular podcast, it is our 100th episode.
And less than 100 seconds in, David has a long word. Paraphernalia.
But it wasn't the right word.
I know. That will serve you right for being clever. 100 episodes of trying to be clever.
What Mark thought we'd do is, instead of us trying to find more people to interview, we'd go down memory lane.
Yeah, I'm bored with interview. We've done probably around 200 people by now, if not more.
And the rest, because on each of our trips we're interviewing multiple people. What we're going to do over the next half hour or so is remind you, if you are already a listener, or entice you to listen more by going back over some of the highlights of the last 100 episodes.
And I also get to interview my favourite guest, which is you.
Why? What are you going to ask me?
David, what's next?
Aha. So what we thought we'd start with is our very first episode, where we took you to Copenhagen and we also took you to New Orleans. Let's just listen to Mark and David as they were beginning their path to stardom.
David, have you got some timey-wimey music that takes us back in time?
Oh, I could probably do that.
Welcome to the first ever travel edition of the Jerusalem Post podcast. I'm Mark Gordon, and here's my travel buddy, David Harris.
Mark, thanks very much, and a welcome from me as well.
Around 18 million people visit New Orleans each year. Most come for the music, the food, and the great street atmosphere. For the lowdown on the Big Easy and Jewish tourism in the city, we spoke with professional guide Roni Bosin, who owns the Wandering Crew Tour Company.
Mardi Gras season is a long season. It's not just that Mardi Gras week, and it's a great time to come to New Orleans if you want to go to more low-key parades and low-key events. And the season always starts on January 6th, which is 12th night as far as religion is concerned, but also January 6th, aside from it being 12th night, happens to be the birthday of Joan of Arc. And there is a Joan of Arc statue in New Orleans of her sitting. It's all made of gold, and she's sitting on the horse. And the very first parade of the Mardi Gras season, because of this, is the Joan of Arc parade. Somebody climbs up to the horse and puts some beads on her neck. In New Orleans, we don't call her Joan of Arc. Because she sits on a horse, everybody calls her Joni on a pony.
A lot of the New Orleans scene is about food, and foods like Creole, gumbo, and a lot of it is very much seafood and meat. How can a kosher traveler experience some of the genuine flavors of New Orleans?
It really depends how kosher you are. If you are okay with, for example, eating vegan, but obviously there's no certificate of kosher, you can go to a place called Sweet Soul Food, and it's basically vegan food run by an African-American owner. And it's all the stuff you would want to have in New Orleans, like gumbo and jambalaya, and you'll have it. It's vegan. So there's nothing non-kosher there, but there's no certificate. Now, if you go one level up, probably the most famous food institution in New Orleans, arguably, is Café du Monde, which has been around since basically 1862, right when the Union Army takes control of New Orleans. Kind of a strange time to start a business, but Anyway, they've been open since, and what they have there is cafe au lait, which is basically hot coffee, chicory and hot milk, and beignets. And beignets is really fried dough, and beignet is kind of like, if you guys know what a sphinge is, which is what Moroccans and Algerian Jews will have during Hanukkah. It's very similar because we have the French influence in Algiers and Morocco as well. But anyway, since 2008, Café du Monde has had a kosher certificate from the LKC, which is the Louisiana Kosher Committee. Now, if we step up another level, the most probably authentic Jewish Louisiana kosher place is a place called Kosher Cajuns. And this is a place in Metairie, which is a suburb of New Orleans. And you can have all kinds of local food there that is kosher. For example, a shrimp po' boy, which is obviously not a shrimp. It's made of, I believe, Alaska fish.
As the song goes, Copenhagen really is a wonderful city. It's an ideal launching point to Europe for visitors from North America, and just a short hop from the rest of Europe and Israel. In addition to the classic tourist attractions like the Tivoli Gardens and the Little Mermaid, the city's National Museum tells the story of the miraculous escape of nearly all of Denmark's Jewish community in 1943. Mette Boritz is curator at the Museum of Danish Resistance.
A lot of Jews here in Copenhagen were quite poor in those days, and it costed money to take a boat over to Sweden. And some of the members of the resistance trying to raise money for the Jews to go over to Sweden. Others helped them escape, trying to find fishermen that were ready to take them over. In our museum, we have a special boat, one of the original boats that were transporting Jews to Sweden. It has a very special story, and not so long ago, we actually found the family of one of the Jewish families that joined that boat, and they were called Steinbock. I found Abraham Steinbock. He was the one that bought the boat from a fisherman south of Copenhagen to take his and another family over to Sweden. And we found his daughter, and she could tell us the exact story because her father did his memoirs.
I have to interrupt you at this point and ask you, was the name of the daughter Aviva?
Yes.
She's my cousin.
It is?
That's me, yeah. Abraham's wife was my mother's second cousin.
Ah, how funny.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes, and I have seen a lot to Aviva during the last month. So, how funny.
Wow. It's a small world, and we say in the Jewish world is even smaller, of course.
Yes, and actually, because we did have the boat, and we only had a small newspaper article about Abraham. And when we were going to exhibit the boat and have the boat into the exhibition, I said we must have a picture of the family that joined or Abraham, because we wanted to tell his story. So I just took a Google search and found that he was living here in Copenhagen.
To talk the latest news in Israel, the Jewish world, and everything in between.
This is the J-Post Podcast. I'm Tamar Uriel-Beery, Deputy Editor-in-Chief of the Jerusalem Post.
And I'm Tzvika Klein, Editor-in-Chief of the Jerusalem Post.
And I'm Sarah Ben-Nun, Night Editor at the Jerusalem Post. Join us as we bring some of the most impactful voices to bring you into what it means to be Jewish, to be Israeli today.
Every week, we bring you with us into the newsroom in every sense.
Stop being so dramatic. This is just our coffee break.
You can find us every Thursday on jpost.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
We'll see you there.
Yalla, bye.
I was away last week. In fact, I was away this morning. I landed at 6 o'clock this morning, and I'm straight here to record with you, David.
That's very impressive.
And while I was away, I was at a conference, and I met a lovely gentleman whose name I think was Daniel. His first name and surname was the same.
Okay.
And we were discussing the podcast, and I told him we get to go away a lot. And I told him where we'd been, and he said, you've basically done life because you can tick it all off now. You've got people taking you all around the world to do fun things. Do you remember our first trip, David?
I do. It was not long after the Abraham Accords were this joyous moment and a hope for regional quiet and calm and potential economic development, and you got a very nice invitation for us to go to a place called Yaz Island. And what was the only thing you knew about Yaz before we went?
Well, growing up, there was a pop star in England called Yaz who sang "The Only Way Is Up, Baby, for you and me now."
But then you looked into it and you knew Formula One.
Yes. And we also found out that post-COVID, Yaz Island was about to open up. It was a massive, massive resort with lots of hotels, lots of theme parks, shops, beaches, restaurants. And we decided to go and visit.
So off we set to Abu Dhabi and to Yaz Island. Get your pens and paper ready because we're about to do a little quiz. When we went to Yaz Island in Abu Dhabi, Mark got a little bit carried away at Warner Brothers World. Where Mark has really gone, since he now thinks of himself as being that super roadster, is onto the Fast and Furious. It is the ride starring Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner, and you might be able to hear it right now. It is a small roller coaster. And when Mark was riding the roller coaster, something very strange happened within his brain. Even stranger than normal. In fact, he's begun to talk somewhat funny. And as you know, on this podcast, we have a weekly quiz. This time we're going to do something a little bit different. Can you tell who Mark thinks he is? Pens and paper at the ready.
Meep, meep. I'm hunting rabbits. What's up, Duck?
Shaggy?
I thought I'd pour a pretty tat. I did.
Yoinks! Yabba dabba doo.
I don't want to spit on the mic.
And I would have got away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids.
It's time for a quick break on the special 100th episode of the Jerusalem Post podcast Travel Edition.
I'm surrounded by octopuses, mushrooms, stingrays, jellyfish, and I'm about to hit my balls into a snail.
Just the experience of watching two robot arms making your cocktail for you.
I've got this strapping thing on and a very small piece of metal that is going to hold my body on a rope.
And we were fighting as snow shifters
Against yetis. So we're both in very nice floral dresses.
You're listening to the Jerusalem Post podcast Travel Edition with Mark Gordon and David Harris. I was very lucky about a couple of weeks ago. I did a bit of public speaking on behalf of the podcast, and the person who was introducing me gave me a little gift at the end, and it wasn't whiskey and it wasn't cash. It was something that actually for me was even more special. I got a map of the world, and it's a scratching map. After you visit a country, you scratch off that part of the map and it shows that country. And we've done a lot of that already in the podcast, a lot of scratching.
Oh, I thought it was some sort of map where places where you've caught strange diseases that make you scratch.
All right, why don't we go down that particular path of distraction? Mark, in which places in the world have you been sick while we've been doing this podcast or have lost blood?
Probably most of them. I probably have mentioned it in nearly every other episode, but I did get sick on one trip, which then morphed into 3 more trips.
That was hepatitis.
I damaged my shoulder before we went to Romania and missed a day.
You bled all over an exhibition in Azerbaijan.
I was just really, really ill in Poland. There was also the hepatitis, but I think we'd done another trip by then. I couldn't even get up the stairs.
Anyway, in all of the places, back onto the script, in all of the places that we've been, do you have a favourite? I mean, it's not really fair because everywhere's very special. But is there somewhere that for you personally meant something?
Like you say, they've all been great. And obviously my favourite is the next trip for whoever's listening. I think the longest trip we took and the furthest we've been and the one that was completely different to what I expected and I probably marvelled at was China.
Why don't we head off to Shenzhen, which is across the way from Hong Kong. You can fly there directly with Hainan from Tel Aviv. So let's take you to Shenzhen. more people can travel on the Shenzhen metro in one day, and this happened on the 12th of July 2024, than the entire population of Israel.
This is a city of 20 million people, and on a single day, more than half of them will be on the Shenzhen metro. We are above one of the platforms, about to go down. I'll join you again in a minute. So despite the size and despite the volume of people, it's extraordinarily organised here. There's no pushing, no shoving, nothing seems overcrowded, but yet there are hundreds of thousands of people walking through this station.
The plan of Shenzhen is that there will be regular unmanned helicopters ferrying people across the skies of this city.
Not just the plan for unmanned flying vehicles, but unmanned road vehicles. There are currently 900 unmanned taxis actively working in Shenzhen. The current public transportation system is already fully electric, and again, this is part of the greater urban plan to keep the environment healthy while growing a city that's gone from 20,000 people to 20 million people in just 40 years. David, I think we finally made it to China.
I think we've made it to madness.
We are on Dongmen Lao Street, or Dongmen Pedestrian Street in Shenzhen, and it's crazy.
I'd never actually seen anything like this before. In fact, we're actually now being watched by other people because they think we are live streaming like all the other influencers within about 100 yards of where we are.
Apparently, live streaming is people completing tasks on camera, and we've got a lady there. Not only has she got a camera, she's got a laptop with her, a portable light, a trolley. She is her own personal TV studio at the top of the road. There's a man singing over there, although you can't hear him.
He's a really good dancer.
There's just people everywhere doing tasks, and in amongst all of that, shopping.
Let's go and see if we can hear the guy singing. We'll move over there. Follow me. This is an incredible scene. This is like Times Square and Leicester Square or Piccadilly Circus in London, but on heat. Let's see if we can actually pick up the sound from this guy.
會笑上好，人間的結局，默默迎送。當生命是流連，什麼先能？幸福處隨時聞到星空，經流之處仍能與你互擁，彷彿遊戲之中望照輕鬆。
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Let's see if we can hear this lady, if she doesn't mind us trying to hear what she's saying.
要求哥哥，感谢所有兄弟姐妹们送来的每一票，漂亮拿下！来，哥姐们，我们扣2个字，拿下，走一波，哥姐们。
Do you remember the days when people used to qualify as journalists and go to acting school to create an art? Now it's any idiot with a microphone. There's hope for us, David.
So that was China, and my favourite. What was yours?
Well, there were a couple of times that I went away and I got a day without you. One of them was in Bucharest, and the other was in Uzbekistan. And the day in Uzbekistan without you was actually at a tourism fair. So it was a lot of fun, but I wanted to reunite with you and share in some amazing things. We went to 2 cities.
I was just thinking of all the wonderful ones I've had without you. I've been to Edinburgh. I went to Emirates without you. You turned up late.
Yeah.
I went on a cruise without you. In fact, I've organised quite a lot of cruises where you've not turned up. And I'm not going to mention Katy Perry at all.
Here we go.
Sorry.
So we started in Tashkent, but then we went to 2 very special cities.
We did. We went to Bukhara at 3 a.m. in the morning on a plane. And then I think from Bukhara we got the bullet train to Samarkand, also at 4 a.m. in the morning. Uzbekistan in the morning is very, very beautiful. Usually we arrive in the morning because we've left in the middle of the night before.
I'm very confused. Anyway, here's a sample of a wonderful, wonderful visit to a beautiful country. In the area of the Jizak region, we have some more dancing going on and chanting. So let's get in as close as we possibly can to listen to this. This place is really phenomenal. It is hot and happening. I'm going to follow some more musicians. They are making quite the racket. I'm currently surrounded by smiling people wearing the most incredible gear. The men are in, I don't want to say dressing gowns, but they look like silk dressing gowns of gold and purple thread. The women are in sky blue and gold with so many patterns on what they're wearing. It's just beautiful. I'm crouched down low so that I'm not disturbing, but I hope you're enjoying the music. And there are some dancers coming through. This is quite fun.
We are in the Jewish cemetery in Bukhara. The entrance to the cemetery is in a style I think we'll see plenty of over the next couple of days. The blue dome, similar to a lot of the mosques in the area, but with a Magen David on top.
And now we are going to take you to something that is, it's one of the most remarkable places I've ever been. We're looking at the outside of a dome, and atop the dome is, would you call that a cupola?
I'd call it a smaller dome.
There's like a mini dome on top of the dome. Let's go down. This is not going to be easy because we're holding our microphones and our equipment whilst going down some very steep steps.
Wait for me, David.
You all right? Yeah,
Yep.
We can't go too far apart.
Mind the salt.
You will hear as we come in that we have entered inside a dome.
Oh, look at this. It's a swimming pool. No, it's not a swimming pool. It is the mikveh.
This mikveh that we are in, and yes, we're in a cemetery, and a mikveh, for those of you who don't know, is a ritual bathing pool. This is the mikveh that the Jewish community of Bukhara would use, even though it's within the same site as the cemetery. It actually, if I've got my numbers right, predates the cemetery by about 800 years.
We've been told that the mikveh is 1,250 years old. It could be from the year 1250.
We're figuring it out. But
we're
still,
working from translation.
It's at least 700 years old.
And we are now going to talk to the president of the Bukhara Jewish community, Abram Ischakov.
Today, in Bukhara, there are about 200 Jews who live here, but in the history, there were more than 20,000. Most of them migrated to Germany, Austria, and other countries. Although we are very few people here, we celebrate all of the Jewish national holidays here. All of them we gather here on Sundays, Saturdays, and we celebrate all of the Pascha and other holidays here. This is one of the most historical synagogues in Central Asia. It is about 420 years old.
Shalom aleinu al kol Israel, yaseh shalom, hey yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu al kol Israel, yaseh shalom, hey yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu al kol Israel.
We are still in Bukhara, but it is night time at the Grand Mosque and the Grand Tower. We have come here at 8 o'clock, and as we were walking here, it was dark. Our friend Munir, who has been our guide, made a phone call, and all of a sudden, the lights on probably the most important landmark in Bukhara are suddenly switched on to the most amazing scene. The colours, just unbelievable. David?
In front of us is the madrasa, which is the Muslim equivalent of the Jewish yeshiva or place of learning. The centre is lit up orange. The gateway into this centre of scholastic learning is huge. It is full of mosaics, of tiles, of inscriptions, magnificent, leading up into the dark sky. On either side of it are two minarets. They are tall, they are turquoise, they are truly magnificent. Behind us, which is known, as Mark said, as the Grand Mosque or the Masjid Kalon, is also lit up in orange. And for those of you who listened in the last podcast, you'll know that 48 metres above our heads is a tower where the muazzin would call people to prayer that dates back just shy of 900 years. And all of it is lit for us, and we are the only people in the square.
Apart from the poor man who's just wheeled his bicycle by because he needs to switch on the lights on the tower. You know how it is. You go out for lunch and then next to you is one of the most famous musicians in Uzbekistan.
Yes, and this, it seems, has not been arranged, even though these famous podcasters and writers from Israel are in town.
Abdul Hoshim Ismailov appears regularly with the president on a Friday, and he's having dinner next to us. And our guide, Shukrat, has managed to convince him to give us a tune. You'll never believe it, David.
Believe what?
Apparently, one of the biblical prophets is buried in Samarkand.
I do believe it. Well. So here's the interesting question. When, for example, in northern Israel, you're taken to the graves of rabbis or the grave of historic figures, was the person actually buried there or not? Now that, of course, does not affect the faith of those who are going to say prayers to God and using to some extent the power, the believed holiness of those individuals, whether there or not, to allow their prayers to be received. And I think we could probably say the same here.
Yeah. Here in Samarkand, the legend is that Amir Timur, in the 15th century, went to Shusha and brought back the remains of Daniel the prophet.
Okay, so Daniel lived
in a lion's den.
Partly 7th, 6th century before the Common Era.
In the court of Nebuchadnezzar,
the second,
or was it Darius?
He was brought over as an exile from Israel during the period of Nebuchadnezzar the second, and then continued to live there during the period afterwards. Darius and Cyrus.
Legend has it that Daniel was a very, very pious man, would pray every day, and there was a decree at the time in the court of Darius, I believe, that there should be no further prayers. But Daniel continued to pray, and as his punishment, he was put in the lion's den.
And The rest, as they say, is history.
Or legend.
And the question is, where was he actually buried? There are 4 potential places in Iran, in Iraq, and here in Uzbekistan.
That's 3. You forgot Morocco.
There you go. That's why you're the accountant.
Thank you.
The tomb of Daniel here is quite remarkable. It's perched up on a hill which is replete with archaeological excavations of Zoroastrian areas. There are 7 layers in the tell or mound that is here. The tomb itself is 18 meters long. That's in yards at least about 20 yards long.
Roughly, yeah.
As we said, 18 meters, for those of you who understand Hebrew gematria terms or numeric values of numbers, is chai, 18, which means life.
Only if you're doing it in metric, if you're doing it in yards. The noise you can hear in the background is there is a holy water spring, and people are coming every day bringing plastic bottles and filling up for a taste of the very, very sweet holy water.
You say that. The gentleman next to me has actually got a cement-making bucket,
yes,
which probably holds about 6 days of rainwater and filling it up.
Outside of Buenos Aires, where would you recommend visiting?
Tell us why you've got a passion for Jewish history as an author.
Is there something unique here that you won't see anywhere else in Georgia or even the world?
Why on earth would you take this incredible boat and launch it in Israel, of all places?
Has David Hasselhoff been to the David Hasselhoff Museum?
You're listening to the Jerusalem Post podcast travel edition with Mark Gordon and David Harris. It wouldn't be a review of the last 4 years, a Jerusalem Post podcast based in Israel, without talking about the tragic events that have beset this part of the world over the last year and a half.
The podcast 4 years ago started during COVID, where the world had closed down and travel was an impossibility. And then on October the 7th, 2023, travel again closed down with the tragic events of the war in Israel, the death of 1,200 people on that day, the kidnapping of over 250 hostages, 100 of whom are still held in Gaza.
Just before the war began, a couple of hotels opened in Israel. One of them is the Elkin, which is at the southern end of Tel Aviv. Mark and I were very privileged to present a podcast from both the Elkin and the Teatron Hotel in Jerusalem. But our focus right now is on the Elkin and how the war affected that hotel.
Let's first start listening to our original trip to the hotel and our chat with the general manager, Morgan Mondoloni.
Here we're not selling rooms or plates or dishes or spa treatments. We're selling experiences, emotions that will stay with you, and this is priceless. And only in very few selected locations and places you can really find this real essence of emotion that you can carry on with you. And this is the real souvenir of a stay that you can have anywhere in the world, but not everyone can offer that. This is what we do here.
I think a lot of the charm of the hotel, or any hotel, comes down to its manager as well, and the philosophy and the staff and the training. What's your philosophy about hotels and customer service and guest management?
I get that question quite a lot, actually.
I'm sorry to be repetitive.
No, not at all. It's pretty much talking about purpose and why we are doing what we are doing every day. I do my job to make people happy, as simple as that. Whether it is guests or employees, I do believe that through our action, our interactions, we can change, even by a little, people's lives. And whether it's someone looking for a job, not connected to hospitality, and creating a career out of it, or a guest, imagine arriving from a flight from New York with a baby crying on board, arriving in Ben Gurion, going through customs for hours, waiting for the luggage. The challenge here is to make people happy no matter what happened before they get into our doors. We need to draw a smile on all our faces. guests, employees, partners, everyone.
Shortly after that interview, we were invited to the official opening of the hotel on October the 17th. Tragically, on October the 7th, HR administrator Bar Tomer was murdered at the Nova Music Festival. We returned to speak to Morgan a few weeks later about the impact on the hotel of her murder.
It's indeed a situation that we are dealing with since day one here with the team. It's been affecting us ever since until today. We pay tribute to Bar in many ways that I will be able to tell you about. It's just, as a general manager, it's not something that you expect to leave one day. You feel responsible for each and every one of your employees. And one day you learn on a phone call that one of them was murdered by terrorists. I was not raised in this country. I arrived 5 years ago, and it's very tough for the team as well. We are trying to hold on. We have psychologists who come to visit us once a week so that the team and everyone can talk about it. We were a lot also with Bar families, wonderful people from kibbutz and shemer. We, of course, were at the funerals. We went to the Shiva. Right now, we are taking some initiative to pay tribute to her and to the person she was, the wonderful person she was.
Tell us a little bit about the time that you spent with her character.
Bar was 25 years old. She was HR assistant, human resources assistant, and she joined the team on December 1st, 2022. So she was really part of the beginning and the opening of the hotel. And among the challenges she had to face was to recruit a team of about 100 people, which is a lot, especially when we know how tough it is to recruit talents in hospitality business. But she did that. She was never afraid. She tackled every challenges. And Bar was that kind of special character that was just like a sunshine. Whatever room she was entering in, she just shines on everyone. She was like a medicine for bad days, some sort of pill that you would always like to have with you and to feel better. She was that pill. Would really need that medicine right now.
One of the things that our trips have enabled us to do, particularly as we focus a lot of our time on Europe, Central Europe, is to look at our roots, where Mark came from and where I came from. And we've actually been to two small towns where my family came from, which was Liepaja or Libau in Latvia. And we also made a pilgrimage to a small town in Poland between Poznan and Łódź by the name of Konin, the birthplace of Mark's grandmother.
Ever since I started coming to Poland and asking my family about where we came from, because I have at least two roots of my family that are Polish, the name that cropped up again and again and again was Konin. My father's mother, whose maiden name was Moskowicz and family name was Moskowicz, seemed to have come from Konin, and through a lot of research by my wife and reading an interesting book from Theo Richmond called Konin, we've seen the name Moskowicz again and again and looked through the records, and Konin is, we think, definitely the place where my grandmother was born.
So the name is Jacek Cieślewicz, and I'm pretty aware that it's very difficult for foreigners to spell it properly. So right now, like you said, we are in Konin, which is in the eastern part of Wielkopolska region. The history of the town dates back to about the break of 12th or 13th century. For hundreds of years, it had a significant Jewish population. Let's say in 1939, just before World War II, Konin had 12,000 inhabitants, of which about 2,300 were Jewish. With a large synagogue here and a Talmudic school and many industries run by Jewish people.
We finally come in from the cold in Konin. It was a bit nippy out there, and the rain, I think, got the better of us. But for me, I've had an emotional couple of hours walking around the old town of Konin.
the city itself is completely transformed from what it would have been when my grandmother left in 1905, nearly 120 years ago. There was something special about walking round and walking those footsteps where she would have been. This is the Jerusalem Post Podcast Travel Edition. Find us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at MarkDavidPod, or mail us at markdavidpod@gmail.com.
Fun fact, David.
Ooh.
Do you know who Julius Fromm is?
Yeah, actually, I do. And if you remember, while we were wandering around Konin, there's a waymarker in the town by the church that probably could benefit from something that Mr. Fromm invented.
Yes, Julius Fromm is the inventor of the latex condom, and not only the latex condom, the condom vending machine.
And the waymarker, well, you may be able to guess its shape.
All right, enough cock and bull stories.
Oh.
One of the things that David and I have really enjoyed doing over the last 4 years is feeding our faces. And we have been lucky to go to a number of very, very high quality restaurants, some wonderful wineries. And I think 3 of the restaurants we've been to after our visit have received Michelin stars. We are that influential.
Mm-hmm. We didn't know which one to select. I mean, one of the times that Mark enjoyed himself without me, which we forgot to mention, was at the world's only Michelin-starred kosher restaurant.
Which I believe is still running as long as you can take a large enough group there. It used to run by order, and then it was every Wednesday. I think it's now you phone ahead and say, I've got 30 people, and then they will bring the shomer out of his sleep and kosher the kitchen again.
This is in Barcelona. Do you remember the name?
Jeta.
Well done. Mark remembers everything.
Chef Fran Lopez.
But we decided to go to Prague for this particular gastronomic delight.
We went to a fabulous restaurant called Field in the older area of Prague, not too far from the Jewish Museum. It had a wonderful vegetarian tasting menu.
I do apologize to interrupt, gentlemen. Let me introduce you a second amizbush. We are serving it's actually finger food, so no cutlery needed. Crispy cup from bear butter stuffed with marinated cucumber. There's also pea puree, fresh creme fraiche, begonia flour, and afila. If I can recommend, try to eat it all at once because it's fragile. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So you were saying, you grow up in a Jewish Ashkenazi home, and there's a certain type of food. So Friday night, it's chicken soup. It's maybe with canadles or noodles or both. Then it's going to be chicken with Helzel stuffing. It used to be roast potatoes, a couple of veg, Lokshan pudding for dessert, a noodle pudding, and that was your meal. And then maybe, on a Shabbat morning, Saturday morning, there'd be a bit of gefilte fish, and maybe some herring, and so on. Comfort food, but very old-fashioned.
Eastern European
cooking. Largely not strong flavours.
So here we are in Eastern Europe, in the Czech Republic, in Prague. We're doing something slightly different from chicken and Helzel stuffing. We've come to the Field restaurant, a 1 Michelin-starred restaurant, which is the brainchild of the Czech Republic's TV personality, the main TV chef. He's a gentleman called Radek Kasparek, and we are going to spend the evening trying the vegetarian degustation menu, and we'll keep you updated as we go along. But it is a sight. It's not a sight for sore eyes.
It's a sight to
my
behold.
eyes are just looking and in love with some of the food.
So, as you heard, the waiter, we need to actually go back and listen to what the waiter presented to us, but it looks absolutely stunningly presented. I did hear that there was cucumber in it, there were flowers in it, we can see there are fresh herbs on the top. We do have the menu, so we could
but
read
we're
through
on the
it.
amuse-bouche.
Yeah, we're not
so
there
we get
yet.
3 amuse-bouche just to whet our appetite before the 6 or 7 courses.
I just want to say I've never in my life liked sauerkraut, which is typical Eastern European food, but sauerkraut salt in a butter
on
is
potato bread.
Absolutely phenomenal. Anyway, let's try this dish. We've got to put it in our mouths in one go. Bon appetit, we'll tell you how it tastes, and then we're going to get on with our food.
That is so fresh.
You're going to have to explain the taste because I was too busy crunching it for the microphone.
Imagine the freshest cucumber that you can with some herbs. There was a lovely little flower on top. It just tasted like the freshest salad that you could find.
We hope we've made your mouth water. We hope you're intensely jealous. The place is the Field Restaurant, right next door to the old Jewish quarter, right in the heart of Prague. Oh, Mark.
I would say, oh, David, but I am just so replete.
I think, and this is with all due respect to my wonderful daughter, this is probably the best meal I've ever had in my life.
Other than what my wife cooks, this is definitely...
My wife has no pretensions. I'm the cook in the house, actually. My daughter is phenomenal and I think could thrive in a kitchen that must be behind the scenes here at Field in Prague. We're halfway through our vegetarian degustation
indigestion menu.
Whilst the menu, which includes caviar,
seaweed caviar,
which looked, and I'm assuming texturally, tasted just like caviar. In addition to that, for those of you who would want not to drink wine, there is also a non-alcoholic pairing option, which includes rhubarb and tarragon, an apple and dill, a celeriac and lovage, etc.
And cherry cola.
Cherry cola is a little bit off-putting in a place where the quality is so high, but I'm sure it's wonderful.
Maybe it's a homemade cherry cola. While we've been talking here, another table has been rolled up, and I think we're about to be entertained again.
If there was one complaint, and Mark, you've mentioned it, it's maybe too quick, too much.
When you end up with 10 courses, 3 amuse-bouche, I can see someone's dinner being set alight behind us. A lot of this is show as well. It's not just the tastes, which are amazing, but the presentation.
Our last dish, which was a tofu relish with black garlic and potato, came with, was it liquid nitrogen or another way of showing London fog of the Victorian era?
In a bowl with built inside the glass, just full of twigs to give that
a
fire
nest.
feel. Yeah,
it's absolutely stunning. We'll do one more sort of quick report at the end, but meantime.
Oh yes. I'm not sure if this bit is edible.
What the heck is that?
I don't know. It looks like a toadstool.
A pacifier or a dummy.
When was the last time you went to a restaurant and they bought you a picnic basket about 8 courses in?
It's so bizarre because if someone years ago would have said to you, you're going to a restaurant and we're going to give you a picnic basket, you would be sort of insulted or say, I want my food on a plate. We've been presented with a 3-layer box.
A set of drawers.
About 12 inches by 9 inches. The top part, if one opens it, or on top I should say, were a couple of pretzels. And then inside there is a non-alcoholic drink.
Shame.
Which is from blackcurrant.
There's some more vegetarian caviar. This time it's pink. Some onion butter, a bonbon, some sheep's cheese.
And each layer of the picnic basket, there's a drawer that opens up and it's more and more magical. And just underneath the items of food that have been presented in their own beautiful casing, there is also a bed that has been provided for the food to nestle in. It's
definitely not chicken with Hell's stuffing.
I suspect I've already said this, but this is the best meal I've ever had in my life.
Sorry, Talia.
That's my daughter.
We are serving a little refreshment, gentlemen. It's basically a cherry granita together with sorbet from wild roses. On the top, dried rose petals. And on side with it, we are serving a homemade cotton candy, which is powdered with cherry powder. Basically a little trip back to the childhood for you.
One of the most underrated films, in my opinion, and also in my opinion, one of the greatest films ever made, is Monty Python's Meaning of Life. There is a scene in which a guest in a restaurant,
Mr. Creosote
says, I couldn't eat another thing, I'm absolutely stuffed. He puts it in crude terms. I'm going to put it in polite terms. I've had elegant sufficiency. I've had ample bountitude. The food has been magnificent. It has been delicious. and I've had the wonderful company of Mr. Mark Gordon.
But could you manage one more wafer thin mint?
I couldn't have another thing. I'm absolutely stuffed.
Discover the future with Inside Israeli Innovation. I'm Eve Young from the Jerusalem Post, bringing you exclusive insights from Israel's top innovators. Each week, we dive into the latest trends in tech, business, and beyond with interviews from the brightest minds in the industry. Whether it's cutting-edge startups or revolutionary tech breakthroughs, Inside Israeli Innovation is your front row seat to the startup nation. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast platform and stay ahead of the curve. Inside Israeli Innovation, where innovation meets inspiration.
Mark and I, when we were deciding which bits from our 100 episodes or 99 previous episodes to include in our 100th, there was one that both of us straight away said, this is the one that we've got to mention.
David and I both have lots of fears that we probably never had when we were younger.
I'm fearful of you.
Well, I would be too. David, I think, is very fearful of anything to do with water, anything to do with heights, anything to do with work, trying to tell jokes, being funny.
Wives, children.
I'm fearful of falling asleep near David because of what he might do to me. But also, I'm also very scared of heights. I hate bikes. I hate...
Wives. Children.
I've never wanted to go on a zip line in my life.
You did that?
I've done that. But essentially, when we go out traveling, we kind of have to do these things. And it's given us a chance to fight some of our fears. And as David said, there was one clip and one experience, I think, that both of us said immediately, because this encompassed all of our fears in one go.
Ladies and gentlemen, we present Lithuania. Lithuania is not the fear, it's something that happened in Lithuania. Here we go.
When the lovely people at Lithuania Travel said, you've got a choice, you can go cycling or do something else, I went, no, I don't fancy cycling. So they're sending us high.
We're going to be going about 1 kilometre up into the sky.
In a picnic basket.
In a picnic basket. We're going hot air ballooning. This is going to be... Are we nervous?
We are. Just looking at the basket and how they're going to fit 16 people in there.
We're going to go and get acquainted with everybody that we're going to be flying with, and we'll talk to you a little bit later on. Help!
That noise you can hear is our balloon being inflated. We've had our safety instructions. This is really going to be an adventure. We've had the instructions about what to happen if the balloon falls over. If it does, it's been lovely recording this podcast. And enjoy the new presenter. David?
Oh my gosh.
The ground, it's going further away.
Either the cars are shrinking or we're going higher.
I don't remember being with Matchbox cars in a very small field.
What's amazing is we're now, double tree height, is the speed at which this thing rises. It's much, much quicker than I would have thought. If you look off to our right...
Does that mean I need to open my eyes?
If you look off to the right, you can see the sun is just beginning to pop its head over the horizon. And we're going to hear lots of those noises in the background.
It's to keep my ears warm, I think.
So we're in the area of Trakai, and as I said earlier, we'll talk a lot more about Trakai later on. With 3 balloons, the balloon that we're in holds 16 people, the other couple of balloons hold 4 people. Off in the distance, we're heading towards the main lake where Trakai Castle is located. The area is just stunningly beautiful. As we were told the other day by Lena, the foliage is changing, and whilst we saw we saw it within the town the other day, here we're just seeing an entire vista of full foliage, and it's stunning.
It's mainly greens, but so it's our pilot next to me, just flying over some farmland now. Just the greens and the yellows and the reds at the top of the trees. Autumn here is beautiful, really beautiful.
We've just landed in a field filled with mud, and remarkably our driver, pilot of the hot air balloon, just came out with a guitar. I've got no idea what else is in another box, and he started to tell stories. He started in Lithuanian, but we're going to get an English version of it as well.
We carry on the tradition which began with the first flight ever. It happened in France in 18th century. Two brave guys, Pilater de Rosier and Marquis d'Arland, took off from Garden of Palace of Versailles with a big paper bag, similar to ours, little bit smaller, filled with smoke, because back then they thought that smoke lifts everything up. One time up, one time down. I guess the landing was even rougher than ours, but still successful. And the king himself followed them and baptized them. So we carry on this tradition. Everyone after first flight gets baptized, and we do that with the fire, because fire lifts us up. We put down the fire with champagne, because the tradition started in France, so of course. And we seal it with a little bit of soil, because after each flight we want to get back to the ground safely.
I'm going to have to describe this because I didn't realise there was an actual ceremony. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe what I am looking at. This is quite incredible. Oh my golly gosh. Mark, you've got to explain.
Apparently, they're busy burning hair, and they went to a bloke with no hair other than a little ring around the back. You can see his face. He hasn't got much, and they're busy burning it.
They're actually taking to each person. They've got the type of lighter that you would use to light a gas stove. They are setting people's hair on fire, including Mark's right now.
Just one thing.
Oh, there's mud on there.
You cannot shower for 2 weeks.
I wouldn't anyway. It's not a problem.
I've absolutely no idea how much of what we just said was understandable because we were so busy laughing. But the ceremony that was performed fits in with the story that was told by our pilot. And they went around the circle, and to each person, they set fire to their hair, poured champagne over it to douse the flames, and then took a piece of mud and rubbed it on your forehead. So everybody at the moment is walking around a field filled with mud on their foreheads, the smell of burnt hair, whilst sipping rather nice glasses of champagne.
Cheers. This is Mark Gordon from the Jerusalem Post Podcast Travel Edition. Find us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at MarkDavidPod, or mail us at markdavidpod@gmail.com.
So are we going to vote for our top one, or are we just going to leave it there, Mark?
I'm going to leave it there because I don't want the other 25, 26 places we've been to say, right, they're not coming back.
Are we going to carry on doing this podcast? Are we going to keep going?
There have been times when I thought I'm never going to make it to 100 episodes. I'm never going to make it another 6 months. Not because I thought I was going to die, but I just... Although there was one point, obviously, in that museum in Azerbaijan where I deleted the record of martyrs
and cut your finger as a punishment for deleting the record of martyrs.
Yeah, that was 20 minutes where I thought things might go wrong.
He literally did. That was meant to be a screen that was showing videos and stuff, and it just had this Word document on it, and Mark hit the delete button.
Sorry.
Allegedly. We're never going back to Azerbaijan again.
We might have an invite.
Ooh. More to come. I better delete that bit then.
It can be tough sometimes, being away from your family so often, trying to work and then get everything ready for another job.
I don't mind being away from your family.
No, I don't either, but I have to say that. You know I have to say that. No, seriously. I would love to carry on. This is one of the most wonderful things I've done in my life, the chance to go places, experience things, tell other people all about it, and just really enjoy myself.
I'll add one sentence from my perspective, which is The biggest joy of travel for me is meeting the local people. As Mark said earlier in this podcast, when we went to China, some of his impressions or preconceived ideas were totally changed by that visit. And just to meet people, to sit, to exchange eye contact, to understand, and to some extent as ambassadors of Israel and the Jewish people, to show a positive side, a warmth and a friendship on our part is also incredibly meaningful, I think, for both of us.
One of the motivations when we started this was I wanted to go out there and meet other people, and in places maybe 10 years ago I would never have considered going, and I've met warmth in Poland and Germany and
sweltering warmth in China.
Sweltering warmth in China, in the Arab world. Places a lot of people would have been uncomfortable going a generation ago. And the people there have been so open to us as Israelis, as Jews, as journalists, as two people having fun.
Inimitable, I suppose it is imitable, but in inimitable Mark and David style, we will go out of the podcast in our own way. Cheers!
Cheers!
Oh, I think I broke his glass. Bye, folks.
Bye.